Okay. So section B we will go through, and I've specifically opened mark scheme and not just the question, so that we can quickly, you can have a look at the points and I can keep explaining. Now 2A define, and will focus more on 6 and 8 markers. So this one quickly we'll just, define a free good. So free good, economic good, I'm sure you all are aware, but when it comes to definition, so be precise, as I told you yesterday also. So economic goods have an opportunity cost, resources are there, and here you'll talk about no opportunity cost, a good that takes no resources or factors of production to produce, and they're naturally abundant in supply, does not use scarce resources. सब कुछ लिखने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, now look here. It's written no marks for an example. Can you see that? Now I'll pinpoint few things. It's not about the number of questions we cover, but the way we cover it. Now it's written no marks for an example. Will you write an example? Arsh is laughing. Why will I write if it's written no example? Devika, will you write an example? No.
In a defined question, you don't write examples, right?
Yeah, Kahil?
I know we don't have to, but I think we should.
Tarunesh?
I don't think so.
Anushka? Anushka, be on the video.
Miss, I feel even if it's not, you just write it.
So now my suggestion.
Miss, because I don't remember which one exactly. One of the mark schemes, it was written like if it is explain with examples or something like that, do not write it.
Okay, now you listen to me what I'm saying. Because the last minute you are getting that guidance, and you heard yesterday some keep talking about, and you saw Vidita, who used to get 78-80%, she got 95%. So the whole jump that has happened in children, but the children who are really there, I'm not talking everyone should do it. The others, can at least do what is required. But if you want to make a difference, if you want that big jump, not just because of marks, what they have written is no marks for it. That means you will get marks for defining it. So there's no extra mark. वो 2 की जगह 3 mark नहीं दे देंगे. 2 mark आपको मिल जाएगा definition का. But what I told you was give an extra thing to the examiner to differentiate your paper from others, to show your knowledge. And the thing is, 2 years you've been studying it, and if you know something, it's fun. It's like you will enjoy talking about it, because you know that thing, because that's one chance you're getting to represent your knowledge. Okay, so again, it's not compulsory, but that's my suggestion. If you know what Kahil said, he knows that it's not being asked, but he will give. So just take a second there. Example, what is a free good? Tell me. Example of free good.
Like a rock or like leaf.
Yeah. So air is free good. There are no resources to make it.
Water.
Water is a free good, but water, not distillery water, water in the ocean. Yeah. So just give one example there. Okay. So definition and that. Explain with examples the difference between secondary sector and tertiary sector. I guess you all know that. So tertiary sector, again, give an example there. Now they've written sale of jewelry here as an example. For tertiary sector, it is not sufficient to just have the sector which sells product, as this is only part of the sector. So example, sale of a product. So tertiary sector, what else will be included is banking, hotels, education.
Like shops and malls.
Selling of that. When they sell it, sell the things. Yeah.
Shops and malls, isn't that retail? Isn't retail
It is
in
a
the
so it is retail sector. So if you write see the process of selling, if you say selling of something in a mall, then it will be tertiary. So tertiary is a service. So if selling is happening, if you add selling word, then it becomes tertiary. If you just write shops, malls, then it will not. Then it's a secondary sector. Okay. So primary will be your fishing and all, fishing, mining, just keep those examples, which are very clear-cut examples. Don't experiment, as I said. Secondary will be your construction industry, car, anything that they are using the raw material and making it. And tertiary will be your service sector, education, banking. Yeah, so sale of something is a service that you can quote there. How about advertising? Do you think it will come under tertiary? Yeah, it will.
Advertising, isn't it a service?
So tertiary is service.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it will come. Fine. So baki definition, you know. Next. Analyze using a PPC. Oh, good. Like, this is the latest paper. So PPC we recently did. And A level has so much technical stuff and still they got a question on PPC and they were avoiding it. They said, wo to aata hai. But since we did it and it came next day, so that really helped them. And we also did it in class again. So analyze using a PPC, the effect of an increase in the quality of its resources on an economy. And few things, as I already mentioned to you, that the diagram you must make. They are not asking, but it has to be made. Proper labeling, you can see capital goods, consumer goods. Now Y and Y, Z and Z, they have written. You can write the units also. You can write the labeling also. Yeah.
Instead of like capital goods, consumer goods, can we write a specific capital good and a specific consumer good?
Give me an example, because now don't assume things. What will you write? Tell me.
Like for capital good, we could write
Machinery.
machinery, yeah, and consumer good, some like food product, maybe vegetables.
But why do you want to even do that? कि ये कर सकते हैं या वो कर सकते हैं. See, we are talking about the country. And anyways, we know theoretically this is there, but practically there are thousands of goods to be produced. But this is a law, this is a theory. So we are assuming that the country, it can make, putting all the resources, make either this good or that good. So let's take at least two broad categories of goods.
Okay.
Rather than just one industry there. So consumer goods, the country wants, or capital goods they want to focus on for growth. Don't take one car industry and one this industry. Okay. Good, you asked. Kabhi wo likh doge, galat nahi hoga, but it doesn't go with that concept of macroeconomics and PPC there. Okay. So properly labeled axis, of course, curve, convex, concave hi banana, straight line ya convex mat banana, concave, that's the first standard thing of PPC. So go with that only. Now, what are they asking is the effect of an increase in the quality of its resources. Now, better quality of resources will increase productivity. So after you explain PPC, even talk about few things I told you to talk about in any PPC answer. That will be points inside, points on PPC, points outside are unattainable. Then when you come back to the question and talk about it, then you say how that point can be achieved. Okay. So better quality resources will increase the productivity, enable both types of goods to be produced. With the given quantity of resources, increasing the productive potential or productive capacity or total supply, economic growth will take place. Hence, the PPC curve will shift from PPC 1 to PPC 2, which was earlier unattainable. So the question is effect of increasing quality of its resources. So you will say if the quality of resources, land, labor, capital, or enterprise will increase, the productive potential will increase, the PPC curve will shift to the right, and economic growth will take place. To show it in the diagram. Full 6 on 6 you can get in this question. It's a good question to attempt. Now next. Discuss whether or not a fall in a country's birth rate will benefit an economy. So fall in a country's birth rates. Yes, sometimes it does help, sometimes it doesn't. Now when does it help? Fall in the birth rate hoga, to kya ho jayega? Dependency will reduce, because high population has a lot of disadvantages on the economy. So you will just keep that in mind. If population gets reduced, that means we have more resources to use, the existing people. Yeah. So, and generally with high population, it comes that either in a developing country where there are a lot of children, so the government has to take care of that. and then the burden come on the adults in a way, because they work, they contribute to GDP, they earn. Then small children, especially in the poor class, in the people who are below poverty line, so that of course then they need to survive, they need to have food, clothing, shelter. Sometimes they're sleeping on roads or wherever they are staying, but the burden comes on the resources, right? Food shortage भी होता है, land burden भी होता है, environmental burden भी बढ़ता है उससे. So all those things will get reduced. So this is like the beauty of this subject. It's a lot of common sense also if you look into it, but you as an economics student have to use proper terminologies to explain it. So your business knowledge, your common sense knowledge, your geography sometime, your environment factors, all will get combined in this subject. Yeah, Deva, you want to ask something?
Yeah, ma'am. Which diagram can we use in this question?
हाँ, देखते हैं. I don't falling countries, birth rate, resource utilization. Let's see, first go through the answer. Not every question will have, but we can just see it. It can reduce the number of dependents, fewer workers away from work to bring up the children, enable resources to be used to increase economic growth, raise living standard. Yeah, I was just thinking that resource wala. So economic growth dikha sakte, I'll tell you which. Reduce pressure on the environment, move towards the optimum population. So if birth rate is falling, especially, and you can write the context also, especially in case of developing countries, because even if the GDP is rising there, they are still not able to utilize that high income or high growth that they are experiencing, because of the extra income is taken away to feed the high population which is dependent. And why it is not beneficial? Because like if you see developed countries, they are facing this, that's a big challenge for them, because their population is falling and they don't have children. So they are really worried, how will their economy survive later? So they want people to come to their country. They give incentives to people to have more children. So countries like China, India, we disincentivize people if they have more children, but they encourage people to have children. Yeah, so let's see, why do they encourage? What are the problems they face? So this might reduce the size of the labor force in the long term for them. They'll not have workers to work, plus consumers. They'll not have. To whom will they make the things for? It reduces the labor mobility. If you have less labor, if you have more labor, they can move from one place to another or different industries. So occupational and geographical mobility is possible. But if you have less, they will stick to their things. It creates an aging population. How children dependency is there on the economy. Same way, old people who are surviving for a very long time, that is also then a burden on the economy's resources. If you think from economy's point of view, not humans' point of view. So economically, yes, the resources get used up because they're not contributing to the GDP or national income anymore. So somewhere people who are working, that share goes in feeding the old people and children, right? So it creates an aging population, which is actually a thing happening in the US and other developed nations. It reduces the size of the market. If they don't have children, so sale of toys, sale of children clothes, sale of so many things. So markets आपकी develop नहीं होगी. So all the people working in those industries will shut down after a period. They'll not have enough people to sell goods to. Okay. Now coming to the diagram, what diagram can you make? Do you have in your book optimum population ka diagram? No.
No.
Like that. So what you can show is that if birth rate is falling,
Can we show that the resources are being used more efficiently? So could we show PPC then?
what will you show in PPC?
Or an equilibrium diagram?
Not equilibrium. ADAS you'll have to show from economy's point of view, not demand supply, but ADAS. So in ADAS, if birth rate is low, you can show that slowly and gradually AD also might fall. So growth will get affected as they're talking about. So consumption expenditure will fall, investment expenditure will fall, markets will not be there. So why will they invest? Where will they sell goods to? Whom will they sell goods to? Right? So AD will fall. And but that is, you will talk about in context to developed economies. This is happening. You give the real life example that aging is happening, birth rates are falling. So in the long run, their AD might shrink. It might fall, which will reduce their GDP. Yeah, because consumers ही नहीं होंगे,
So, ma'am,
लेबर्स भी नहीं होंगे, तो आउटपुट ही नहीं होगा.
the diagram we'll use is the ADAS diagram.
हाँ, so ADS you can use, or then in PPC, within PPC, so either ADS, or if you connect to PPC, then point moving inside the production, the actual production might fall, and use the word might. Say, don't say it will fall. Okay, so in economics there are huge assumptions. So if you're explaining some point, so you will use the term might. So your within PPC show up on B, it might fall to A. And in the other, on the other side, where you're talking about that the dependence will reduce, so a lot of resources are then available for the country, and then so distribution of income will be better.
So, ma'am, you're saying that a fall in birth rate will enable the country to redistribute its income more efficiently.
Yes.
So that's a point why it may.
Yeah.
Or,
Why it might. Right. So it will help in better distribution of income, because then say if the population is this much, and say 20% goes in feeding the people who are not working, so that means only 60% of the people are working. But if birth rate reduces, so if that becomes out of 20%, it only remains at 10% now dependency. So that means now the economy still has 60% people working, but that income gets distributed on 30% of the population extra. So everyone gets better resources there.
so, ma'am, how do you write the conclusion here?
Let's read the other guidance side also, that will help. So reasoned discussion accurately examines both sides of the economic argument, making use of economic information clearly. One side of the argument may have more depth than the other. So that's okay, what I shared. You can have one side more depth. But overall, both sides of the argument should be considered to develop. There is thoughtful evaluation of economic concept terminology. These are all fine. A reasoned no, wait.
Yeah, ma'am, this is the levels thing I was telling you about.
Yeah. There is thoughtful evaluation of economic concepts. You have to use terminologies, information, any appropriate data that you find to the question. So data in the question, so data you were asking if you need to take from the case study. So as I said, just mention that data when you're writing it, a discuss question.
So, ma'am, they said
That's the
evaluate. Like they said evaluate here, so that basically means conclude, right? Or give a conclusion that is more like discuss.
No, this itself, what you're doing here is evaluation. You're evaluating the points in favor. It's a evaluation process that you are evaluating what will be the points in favor and why, and how it will impact, and what are the points against and why, and how it is going to impact. That will is an evaluation only.
So then, ma'am, what
conclusion is what is the final thing coming out of it.
So if I chose my conclusion as a points for why it may, so I'd say that to conclude, I believe that a fall in the country's birth rate will benefit the economy more.
Wait. Before we get to that, can you see, have they asked for conclusion?
No, they haven't.
Right?
Right.
And that's what I said. See, economics is such a matured subject, you cannot conclude anything. That's why you're using the term might. There's nothing that this will happen. Yeah, a 5% fall in birth rate will lead to this much 7% growth. There is no conclusion there. It's all evaluation, analysis, discussions. So your economic knowledge is what they're testing on, and how appropriate you use the terminologies and concepts and data there. Now, still, because some of the teachers have been like, thoda conclude in some schools. So I would not suggest you to conclude. And some questions there is still possibility, some you can't. And that's what the examiner is clearly saying. To achieve level 3, level 1 and 2, though you don't even have to see. Level 1 and 2 is not to be meant. If you level 2 means a child has written level 2 questions, so these are the marks they will score. You aim for the highest, right? So you see what is the level 3 expected out of you. So this is what they expect, what we just discussed, everything. Now, if you want to conclude here, so as I said, the developed and developing it. So if you're taking one part, at the end you will say, though it will depend on the state, the kind of the economy. For a developing country, having a low birth rate is more appropriate. But for a developed economy, having a high birth rate is more appropriate because they're facing labor shortage and other things. That will be your conclusion. So you'll discuss the problems, both sides, then this way you will conclude. If this is there, then this. If this is there, then this. So depending on.
So the conclusion isn't like a short way of picking which answer you think is the most correct. It's more which is best suited
Not
to
in
each
economics.
situation.
Business, it is possible still because it's a business decision to be taken, whether they should buy a machinery or not buy a machinery. Here, no. Here, different countries, different states, different policies, different interest rate, different impact. You can't. But diplomatically, you can leave it, your concluding statement. Talk about once I say, I don't know why some teachers I saw in some of the answer sheets of mock exam and all, the children, they are making children, I feel, I believe, I think. No, it's a discussion. You don't have to put yourself into it. But still, whatever point you are taking, so you can still say that, looking into the arguments in favor and against, having a high, rather than saying I, say having a low birth rate is better for economy, so that the resources, we have problem of scarcity, so that the resources are used in more appropriate manner by the existing population. However, it depends on the state of the economy or the kind of the economy. For a developing country, this might be more favorable. For a developed country, that might be more favorable. And it depends on, within that, those countries also depends on many other factors, the state of their growth, whether they want, the state of their current account deficit, how much money, the budget that they have to spend on poor people or not. Okay? And the priority of their aim, objectives. Understood how you have to attempt, because this was more important exercise. Then any question come, you know how to answer it. That's what Arsh was asking, like formatting of the answer. Asha, is it better now? How do you format a 2 mark, 4 mark, 6 mark, and 8 mark? Any question anyone needs to know about formatting? Again, I'm saying diagram make only if you are confident. Otherwise, don't make. If you think it will go with it. Okay, next. Identify 2 determinants of PES. Very simple, complete 2 marks. And identification. So, Arsh, no explanation needed there. यहाँ कोई explanation और कोई भी example भी नहीं चाहिए. Okay, but don't just write it. Use a good format. For good format is okay. How you wish good morning to a teacher before you when you enter the class or you meet, you say hello. Same way to the examiner in a way. So you're showing respect to that question or the examiner. So when they say identify 2 determinants of price elastic supply, so write the 2 determinants of the price elastic supply are, and then then write the determinants. Okay. So we did that. Ability to store the goods, level of stocks available. So anything, perishability, production time, length of spare capacity, time period. So we did storage capacity, spare capacity, length of production, kind of stocks. Explain 2 advantages of an economy. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to ask this in the previous question, but can you define birth rate?
Oh, yeah. Good, you reminded. Yes. They have not asked, but as I told you, in 6 and 8 marker, give the definition of the concept.
No, I mean, could you please define birth rate? I want to write down the proper definition.
Okay, so it is the number of children born in a year per thousand bolte हैं उनको. Death
It's
rate per
1,000.
thousand.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Harsh? Per thousand, right?
I think we have done this definition before with Shloka, ma'am. I think when we were discussing some question.
So they calculate birth rate in a year per thousand. The number of children born in a year per thousand. Okay. Now next. Explain two advantages of an economy of ending child labor. So now this is a very clear-cut question. 2 means 2. No point of writing 3. Third one, they are not going to look into it. So do not waste time. Oh, शायद ठीक नहीं हो तो एक और extra और ये करके. So stick to 2 and stick to very clear 2. Don't experiment. So 2 advantages of an economy of ending child labor. Child labor खत्म करेंगे, that means you have to just visualize and think in your mind. Even if, see, these things are not mentioned so detailed in your books. So that's the beauty of Cambridge. They don't want you to, books are just for your conceptual knowledge and they've taken it deep. But they can ask you anything from anywhere. So how knowledgeable you become with this subject, how mature you have become. So just sometime you will see, ये तो कभी पढ़ा नहीं है, but if you just close your eyes, you read the question once, twice, and just visualize and just see क्या होगा अगर ऐसा हुआ तो, and just write about it. So there is nothing, I think economics is a subject, even business for that matters to some extent, that even if you have not studied or you have not done that, you can still write or talk something about it. So nothing that you will have to leave the question because समझ नहीं आया unless it's too technical. Yeah. So now, two advantages to an economy of ending child labor. That means child labor बंद कर रहे हैं, तो that means जो people who were using 10 years, 9 years, 8 years old or 12 years old children for work, what will happen now? What is the first thing that will happen? Education बढ़ेगा, right? सबसे पहले जब बच्चे काम पे भेज देते हैं parents, those who are poor, they send them. Now, if they're not sending them, and one reason is because they feel they will earn. Now, if the government is too strict about it, so then they have to go to school. Then the education will increase. And then you elaborate that point. You explain that point further. What will happen to the economy with that? Yeah, because they're asking advantage to the economy. So let's see what they've written. It enables children to be educated. This will raise the productivity. They will be better skilled. Literacy rate will increase, and the economy will move towards a long run economic growth. Right? Education and training shifts your LRAS. Like Samkit hota to yahan LRAS ka diagram bhi bana deta. Just one line shifting to the next. That's it. Kuch aur nahi dikhana hai. Because education and training is one of the supply side main policy. So in the long run, the economy will grow. More and more people will be educated and skilled.
So, ma'am, do you recommend making an LRAS diagram here?
Okay, so I will see for 4 markers, I did not, but he said he even made with 4 markers. See, you need to see your speed. It should not happen. यहाँ diagram बना दिया और last question रह गया. वो नहीं हो जाना चाहिए. If you have sufficient time in the exam, because it's a lengthy paper. For 4 marks, even if you don't make, you will anyways get 4 marks. But 6 and 8 marks, there is always a possibility that the examiner doesn't give you 6 on 6 or 8 on 8. Here 2 on 2, 4 and 4, you can get. Now, if you have time and you are quick in making diagrams, some people take time, scale liya, pencil liya, ek line, dusra line, third line, likhna. So 3-4 minutes, then no. It's just like, yeah, you are quick at it, 2 line, LRAS, labeling done, then it's fine. So that time individually, you have to see how much you have in hand. Okay. So this is a good point to elaborate. Other point is improve children's health, because of course, child labor, they are in the growing stage, 10, 12, 13, 14 years of children, and physically, mentally, emotionally, and then too much of work pressure, stress on them. So it improves the child's health. it increases their life expectancy and raise the living standard and quality of life in our country. That's another point. Third is it reduction of poverty cycle. Children will later gain higher paid jobs. That you can, in fact, this part you can add in the first part, education. Poverty bhi kam ho jayega usse. Right? When you explain education and training point. Next, raise wages due to reduced supply of cheap labor. So now, in the economy, what happens is the wages are set by demand and supply of labor. Correct? So now, if children are there, people tend to pay low wages because they know, children don't have to run their family, so they can pay them low wages and hire them. But if they are not there and supply of labor becomes low in the economy, wage rates will go up. So higher wages, then remove international bans, encourage more foreign tourists, increase exports, increase job opportunities for adults, lower unemployment, increase employment of adults. So many points, like they've given 6-7 points, but I would say take 2, but in fact use these these explanation in that one. So first you should take is very clear-cut education and training. You can take that as 2 points also, but education and training. Second, you take health, life expectancy and all. These are 2 good points to write because you should have some matter also, some good substance to write in its explanation. Is this clear? Analyze how average cost can change as output increases. Tarunesh, your favorite economies of scale.
Yeah.
How average cost can change as output increases. So here definitely make a diagram. See, they have not written anywhere diagram, but 100% you should make. Yeah, Deva.
Yeah, ma'am. Sorry for asking so many questions, but the like the format for the 6-mark answers is basically you pick 3 points that you think are the most relevant, and then you explain those 3 points, which will give you 2 marks each, and if they're good.
Yeah, because in economics, the thing is explanation itself is analysis. There is something or the other leading to the other. If any action is taken, it leads to something positive or negative. So it's analysis. It's in itself. So when you explain it, connect to it. So that is how you analyze it. Now, there is a difference in analyze and discuss, where in discuss question, you will talk about positives, you will talk about negatives. Here, your 3 points could be anything, whether it's a positive outcome or a negative outcome. That doesn't matter. Got it? Okay,
So we can talk about diseconomies of scale here. Or that doesn't work because it's asking us how to change the output.
Oh yeah, you can, because they haven't specified the average cost fall hi ho raha hai. They analyze how average cost can change as output increases. But of course, first thing is economies hi hoga bahut time tak to. This economies come very late. So you can take 3 points from economies itself, or you can take this economies as well. It's correct. If they would have written analyze how average cost can fall as output increase, then it's only economies.
So you basically use all of the economies of scale, like the bulk buying economies, financial economies, transport economies.
Yeah. Okay. But since the word change is mentioned, so even this economies you can take. In fact, it's good you show it to the examiner. Take 2 economies ka point, take 1 diseconomies ka point. Do that, and then that will justify your diagram also. U shape. You can talk in your answer that as shown in the diagram, bulk buying and financial economies, or whichever you will use, marketing, will reduce the average cost as the output is increasing, as we can see in the diagram. And write what I wrote, EOS there on that line, and then DOS, diseconomies of scale. Okay, you're done. Just take 2 minutes and read this so that it's fresh in your mind. We already did that.
Ma'am, they said with an example here, and up to 2 marks for the example. What does it mean exactly?
Average cost may fall due to economies of scale. So give the definition, of course, first. Example of an economies of scale like financial economy. Explanation of the example. Financial economics ka explanation.
Oh, okay, the bank.
Interest
bank.
rate and all.
Yeah, okay.
Like bulk buying, uska exam, uski explanation ka 2 marks they're saying. So what they are writing here is that they are taking that if student write 2 points, because they haven't specified, like explain it was 2 points and analyze is 2 points. So if it's 6-mark question, they might even give 3 marks to both the points if it's very, very well explained. But I suggest write 3 points, 2 marks ka, because sometimes they consider it as 2 marks for each point. Sometimes they consider as 3 marks for each point. So you give 3 points in any case, analyze, right? Because here there's no restriction that you have to do 2 or 3. Okay. So take financial economy, take bulk money, and take 1 diseconomies, coordination and communication problem. But define which they haven't written and make diagram which they haven't written. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, they've given diseconomies at the bottom.
Link given, no? Average cost may rise due to this. Yeah, of course. So take 1 point of diseconomies. Poor decision making will lead to more mistakes, managerial, then poor labor relations, lack of contact between workers and managers, strikes. Yeah, anything you can do. Coordination, communication problem, delays, inefficiency. So output, even if output is rising, average cost will start increasing.
And ma'am, another thing I wanted to ask while wording this like answers, you should use connections such as like however, therefore, stuff like that, right? So between say economies of scale and diseconomies of scale, supposing I wrote economies of scale first, then after that to to join the 2 sentences, I wrote however, this average cost may end up rising due to diseconomies of scale. That's how you connect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, yes. Whenever you take the other side, use the word however. There could be 3-4 words you can use, you just stick to 1 so that you're not confused. However, fits in all economics answers whenever you have to talk about the other part. Okay, done. Everyone clear till here? 7 questions we have discussed. I hope you're absolutely there. Arsh, understanding it, the format part? Now, conceptually, of course, you have to work hard on what you have to write, but still that, I think this points are also helpful. So mark scheme gives you really good points. I think that's what I said. This should be your second. First is go through the notes. Second is sit with the mark schemes and highlight. Like right now, it's a lot of text. But if you highlight that this economies of scale and 2 points of financial economy bulk buying, so you know, okay, these 3 things I have to write and analyze. And if you want to put take pencil in hand, so on the other side where guidance is written, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, I forgot to tell you. That's the reason I give you hard copy. So the guidance part where it's written, I used to make students when they used to come offline in the class to make diagrams there itself with that question. Because when you draw it again, it gets registered. So वहीं का वहीं economics and diseconomics का diagram बना देने का labeling के साथ. ठीक है? So it's there in front of you then. And like birth rate का definition है वहीं का वहीं लिख लेने का. Yeah, you are doing that. Next. Anushka, are you there?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Any question you have, then ask me.
Okay.
Discuss whether or not an economy would benefit from allocating more of its resources to agriculture. Very clearly, you can make a PPC diagram here. If they allocate more to agriculture, what are they sacrificing then? हमने कल किया था agriculture and manufactured goods. So they will sacrifice the capital goods there. Show the diagram of opportunity cost. Talk about that. ठीक है? वो एक दिखा सकते हैं. But that's just the opportunity cost now. But from a broader perspective, if more resources goes to agriculture, so there are certain benefits they will get, but there will be certain drawbacks. Now let's look at the benefits. Specialized, they'll become more specialized. Any country devoting more resources towards one thing That means they are focused there. They're putting their attention, energy, resources, R&D, technology over there. So specialization will be there. It will increase the efficiency, raise the output, increase their exports. They'll become more competitive there with their quality, with their pricing. May improve the current account of the balance of payment of the country because exports will increase, because not every country has good climatic conditions for those primary goods. But suppose, for example, India, you can take example of India here. So if India is having a good climatic factor for spices, so there's huge export of spices from India. So the current account and AOP will improve. Imports of food may be reduced, then they don't have to, that money they will save. Reduce reliance on other countries for basic necessities. Health and safety standards may be maintained because food relates to agriculture, relates to health, so you can use that point. The industry is labor intensive here in some countries, and so it may reduce unemployment also, because a lot of people who are not educated can work there. So this, now when you explain this, take example of India, write their developing countries which they are not mentioning, and then use these out of 6 points, 6 points. Use these 4 points at least to build up your answer. Okay. Next.
Ma'am, can we also talk about the different sectors and say that the country is moving more towards the primary sector, and that's indicative of a like a developing country, or
Correct.
does that not relate here?
Yeah, it does relate. No, that's why I said use the context of country, developing country, while explaining key specialization. That means more resources, more factors of production moving towards agriculture means they are dominating in primary sector. So it is an example of developing country.
So then for the disadvantage, could you say that they're losing out on the opportunity to grow more into the secondary sector or the tertiary sector?
Absolutely. And that you can show with PPC, no? That if they're producing more agriculture, they're losing upon the output of capital goods.
So one diagram can be used to explain both.
Yeah. Okay, so what will happen now? The other side, wages in the industry tend to be relatively low because of the kind of skill required for agriculture sector is low. So the wages will be low for the people there. The supply of agriculture products can fluctuate significantly due to changes in weather condition. Now, this is one sector where there is no stability because it's not in their hand. The production depends on climatic factors. So if it goes not in favor, then it's a huge impact on the people, their lives, and the economy, the GDP, the exports, everything. Inflation, if food is not produced, as per the output they need. Opportunity cost of fewer resources for manufacturing goods and for services. This one connects to your PPC. Demand for manufactured goods and for services tend to rise more as income increases. So generally, we know that the demand of secondary and tertiary sector will be high if income increases, but here they are dominating with agriculture. So of course, their income will be low. Agriculture uses up considerable amounts of water, and in the future, water shortage is what we are going to face big time. So a lot of resources will go there. Okay, done. So level 1, 2, 3, you don't have to look at level 1, 2, only 3. And 3 is same. It's just the format, like how you have to attempt the discussed question. Nothing, no point there mentioned.
Ma'am, we can use the onion example here, right, for the agriculture question. Like onion prices increasing in the monsoon or something like that shows instability of the price of the market.
So in disadvantage, you talk about that since the dominance is of primary sector, the agriculture sector, and it's highly dependent on climatic factors. So if there is no suitable monsoon for those crops in which they are specializing, then it leads to very big damage, not just on their own incomes and lives, but the overall economy, because the inflation goes up, the exports suffer, they become. Yeah, so then you take an onion example. And since it's a basic good which is commonly used by people in India, you can write if you want to. So yeah, so you'll and here if you want, then you can even show a supply curve shifting to the left, equilibrium and price going up. Identify two of the three resource allocation decision. ये तो simple ही है. अच्छा खाली दो बोले हैं. What to produce, how to produce, or whom to produce. So any two you can just write. So every economy command market or mix, they have to decide what goods they should produce, how they should produce, labor or capital intensive, and for whom. What is the target audience? Explain two reasons why households may save less even though their income has increased. Why do they save less? They save more when the interest rate is high, so they will save less when the rate of interest is low. They save less when inflation is there because they need more money to spend on the existing goods that they want. They spend less when, they save less when they're confident about the future. Like in developed nations, people don't save much, they spend more. They live in the present. And in developing nations, we are more towards the future. We save for the future. So if they're confident that they will be able to generate income, economies are doing well, they don't have to worry about their career switch and other things. They have enough jobs in their country or enough business opportunities, then they will save less. Okay, any 2 points. Quickly, you can just take 2 minutes. So this revision is also done. Then you don't have to look at it. Go through these points and any point which is not clear. So this will give you a perspective. Taranish, you're reading?
Yeah, miss, I have a like copy, so I'm reading that.
So then just use your highlighter also in that hard copy. That
Yeah.
helps.
Ma'am, sorry, which diagram do you use here?
See, Devika is getting fascinated with the diagrams. But make sure your basic content is there. As I'm telling you, please do not make diagrams at the cost of not finishing your paper. That should be your first.
No, ma'am, I get extra time, right, because of access, so I can
Correct.
utilize
Yeah.
it more.
Yeah, you do get extra time, but still because offline we haven't seen the exams being conducted. So just make sure within that extra time is given because of the thought that you people take more time. But with extra time, if you're able to use this for your benefit, then it's good.
Yeah, so I've noticed in my papers, I tend to use only 10 minutes out of my extra time, which I don't want to do for economics since I get almost 3 hours for the paper.
Good enough, I think. Yeah, good. So then if you're thorough, if you're sure about the diagram, do make it.
So which diagram would be used here?
Let me think. Explain two reasons why households may save less even though their income has increased. Saving and spending come. Especially, I mean, don't get into macro for this, but saving, spending,
Miss, is it fine if I can leave? I have bio.
yeah, Anushka. Yeah, you better concentrate on bio. So do one thing, Anushka, since we have started this paper, you make sure today just spend another 15-20 minutes and finish the next questions.
Okay,
Right.
miss. Yeah.
So this 2021, we are going to finish this today, next now, I think 15 minutes more. So you make sure that you do that.
Okay, miss. Thank you, miss. Bye.
Yeah, okay, bye, all the best.
Thank you.
देखो रहने दो इसके लिए डायग्राम, बहुत ज्यादा ना दिमाग लगाएंगे ना फिर ज्यादा पेपर में टाइम नहीं बचेगा। कर सकते हैं, सी टैक्सेस का पॉइंट ले सकते हैं, इन्फ्लेशन का पॉइंट ले सकते हैं, रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट का पॉइंट ले सकते हैं। इफ रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इज फॉलिंग देन but that
People
is
spend more.
then
Yeah.
people will spend more, AD will rise, growth will happen, more jobs will
But
be
that's
there.
not related to
That's
the
not
question.
related, that's what, that will go to macro. So let's not do that, but write very good explanation, we'll get 4 on 4. So you have a lot of other questions in case studies, and here like 3 questions you have to attempt, so 4 4 8 12 questions. So in 12 question में अगर 2-3 question में भी diagram दिखा दिए अच्छे से, that's good enough. Analyze how a trade union may benefit its members. Okay, so Taranish, you came to me 2 days back and we discussed about trade union.
Yeah.
And I told you ki if you just do those notes, what I gave you, and the trade union ka functions is what they ask, nothing more. So don't put your head too much into it. So just have a reading of these. These are the points you have to talk about, nothing more they ask about, much about trade union. So if you understand these points, and it's there in the notes as well. So basically, they're the mediators between employers and employees.
Ma'am, I wanted to make a request. Is it possible for you to maybe go over the like human development indexing HDI chapter again? Because I'm not very clear with it.
HDI
Yeah,
concept,
yeah. And then there's also an indicative of
living standard.
yeah, living standard, and for inflation also there was like something that indicates inflation. Could you also go over that?
Okay, so tomorrow when you're coming, remind me.
I'll remind.
Yeah, I'll discuss that. This is done. So first, your first very clear point should come. The 3 points, you take 3 points and develop those points. First point should be, they are the negotiators. They negotiate for the wages with the employer. Yeah, and improving the working conditions of the workers. Increase fringe benefits. You studied fringe benefits in business studies also. You can give examples of fringe benefits there. Free accommodation, free car, whatever, like you studied there. Through collective bargaining. Now, this term collective bargaining is important here in trade union. So you can take other function, but take one of the function where you use this word. They collectively bargain with the employer regarding these. Trade union may settle disputes between the employer and the workers. Example about changes in working practices, protect workers' rights, seek to protect the employment of its members, negotiate favorable redundancy terms. Sometimes the firms want to make the workers redundant if they're making losses. So trade union, do not let them do. 20 years a worker has worked with them and now suddenly they ask them to go. Where will you find the job at the age of 50? Trade union may negotiate, put pressure on the government. Example, raise a national minimum wage or reduce retirement age. Benefits and service to members. Okay. So any 3 points there. This is an easy question and no need for any diagram in such question. It's just direct functions of trade union. Discuss whether or not a fall in its foreign exchange rate will improve country's macroeconomic performance. So depreciation of currency, we have done that earlier in detail. So positives of that and negatives of that. Foreign exchange rate falling means depreciation of currency, and if it is in the fixed exchange rate system, this is called devaluation of currency. How is it going to? Discuss whether it will improve the economic performance. So what happens with depreciation is import price increase. So imports fall, import expenditure falls, and export price rises. Exports rises because that becomes cheap for the other country. So demand for exports rise. Current account improves. Now the thing here is this question. It's a tricky question because I don't know if you remember, appreciation of currency has a direct impact, but depreciation of a currency does not immediately improve the current account position because the countries are in short-term contracts. So it all depends on the elasticity of products there. Now, I don't know how well you will be able to, or you have understood the concept of elasticity when it comes to imports and exports being elastic in nature, the Marshall-Lerner curve and J curve. It's a deeper analysis in IB and A level. So this question doesn't get complete in its own unless you use those higher level concepts, which is not part of actually IG. तो वो आंसर ही अपने आप में पूरा नहीं बनता है. The analysis complete नहीं होता. If you just write, yeah, imports will improve. So I will not suggest that you go for this question. It requires a little more deeper analysis. So if this is a part of question which you are attempting, then try avoiding it. If you don't have a choice, then do it. You want to discuss it?
So, ma'am, even if we say there's a situation where we have to do this question or something like that, so at the end in our conclusion, we could write that even though this is a case like a depreciation of a currency may be dependent on whether the products are either inelastic or elastic, and we can write that at the bottom.
Yes. So conclude it that way then. Don't get deeper into it. What will happen with elastic and inelastic? Say the effect of depreciation of currency on the economic performance will depend on the elasticities of their imports and exports. Okay, that should be your last statement. Identify 2 ways a government could reduce income inequality. So first way is always putting progressive taxation system, that charging high tax from the rich and low or no tax from the poor. And state benefits is what they provide: public transport, free education, free health services to the poor people to reduce income inequality. Then they have educational and training, vocational training centers for the poor people, or healthcare free for them. Minimum wages, so that because poor people don't have any other source of income. So, and because they really require job, and normally in poor countries and or poor families, there's one person earning, taking care of the entire family. So they might get exploited by the employer because of the high supply of labor. So the government puts minimum wages for that to protect them at least a decent. Explain 2 advantages of a market economic system. We discussed it yesterday, but take very clear 2 advantages. Consumers have a lot of choice. You can explain that. Now, in this kind of a question, when you explain, give examples. Yeah, when an economy is market, like US or India is a mix. So a lot of things, like earlier we just had Air India. So that was more like of a government sector, public sector in the airlines. But when it changed to market, that means it opened up privatization. It opened up a lot of more sectors, more companies to come in that sector. And with that, the choice was more for the consumer. With the competition, efficiency increased. With the competition, price falls. You know, the ticket prices. Imagine 20 years back, I had to pay double the ticket price going from Mumbai to Delhi. And it's become so cheap, despite the fact that incomes have increased. So competition brings in efficiency. Yeah. So one point can be consumers' freedom. They can decide what to buy and all. Producers are free in resource allocation, whatever they want to buy and whatever they want to produce and sell. Lower prices, efficiency, competition, R&D, automatic adjustment of price mechanism ले रहे हो तो diagram बना सकते हो demand supply का quickly बस cross डाल के DES, that in a market economy there is an automatic adjustment of price and resource allocation. Okay, so any 2 advantages there. Analyze why life expectancy may decrease. First, of course, is health. मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज, क्यों एक कंट्री में लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी कम होगी और दूसरे में ज्यादा होगी. Climate changes, natural disasters, more pollution increasing in those countries, poor nutrition, low quality food, smoking, junk food, so much junk food. So we need to really, at least हम अपने level पे तो कम करते जाएं. Then education also, people are not aware of so many things. They just unconsciously keep eating, keep doing, no exercise, no lifestyle changes. The life expectancy follow each other, stress levels, pressure.
Ma'am, what about overconsumption of demerit goods?
Yeah. That's the overconsumption of demerit goods. You can take it as a point that people are unaware of the harmful consequences of demerit goods, or even if they're aware, they are addicted to it and they overconsume it, which leads to, say for example, and take example there, for example, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs. So all that will lead to a lot of diseases, lung diseases and asthma and cancers and other problems. So life expectancy will fall. Okay, then pollution you can talk about. You can take examples, cars, road traffic, factories, car. Discuss whether or not supply side policy measures can reduce inflation. So yeah, but we just did that diagram also yesterday. You can use the same diagram. So how supply side measures reduce inflation? You will show your AD1, AD2, and AD2 is leading to rise in prices. But when supply side is used, another LRA is, the price level comes down. So inflation has reduced. Just talk about that with the help of that diagram. So let's go through the point. Why they might reduce inflation. They may increase the aggregate supply, reducing cost push inflation. So that, if aggregate supply, overall supply is high, then cost of raw material and everything will fall down. They can allow total aggregate demand to increase without causing inflation. That's what we showed in our diagram. Education and training can increase labor productivity, reduce the labor cost. Cut in direct taxes may increase the incentive to be more productive and innovative. So more innovations. Labor market reforms, which is reduction in trade union power, reduction in minimum wages, reduction in unemployment benefit, will push them to work harder. So which will increase efficiency and output both. Subsidies. Who has joined? Oh, Kyle wasn't there. Okay, so subsidies. So all these will help to increase the supply and lower down inflation. Now, why it will still not happen? Privatization does not always increase competition, and so does not always lower prices. So these are all supply side policies they have taken, and they have analyzed which one will work in favor, which one will still not, taking assumptions there. So even if the government has privatized, like more airlines have come in, so that aggregate supply increases, so that their supply stagnation, prices come down, it does not always increase competition, so it does not lower prices. So हो सकता है ज़्यादा आ गए, but price उतना ही है, inflation कम होगा. So we are assuming that. Education and training can be expensive, maybe in the areas that are not in demand and will have a time lag. It's going to take a very long time. Not today, if an economy is, they've got funds now, they are putting money in say schools, but the economy is dominated by primary sector. So people staying and working in those sectors, their children, if they open school, it's going to take very long time, 15 to 20 years for them to come to a decent level of getting a job. And by the time things in the world would have changed, it's already moved technologically so advanced, and they will just get the basic education. So that's just like, that debatable things. We put the other point of view there. So there will be time lag. Cuts in income tax may increase total demand as well as total supply. Don't use this right now. Like then you have to think direct tax को supply side में या demand side में use करना है. Resource limitations, unable to increase productive capacity due to limited land. Yeah, even if they are using supply side measures, but their land is fixed, land is limited, they cannot use beyond the capacity. if country size itself is small, then it might not be too effective in the long run. Inflation may be caused by rise in price of raw materials which have no domestic substitutes, example oil. So supply sides overall they are using, which might reduce inflation, but what if which is not in their hand? Like the whole country is run by oil, and oil is nothing that is not that every country can produce on their own. So they're dependent. If the overall world oil prices are rising, then naturally it's going to affect. If you found this video helpful, do drop a like and share it with your friends. If you want to see more such videos, subscribe to this channel and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. Hope to see you in the next episode of Dimplenomics. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. All the best.